Somewhere between the edge of being alive and feeling dead.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to go over some items regarding equipment that I wear when I go out hiking, both summer and winter. I'm not going to get into per se the gear, like I'm not going to get into snowshoes and backpacks and tents and all that, just things that I wear. So with that said, the first thing I'm going to start with here is socks. So I started hiking maybe 3.5 years ago, and if you haven't seen my videos, please check those out. You'll see the kind of hiking I do in the mountains of northern British Columbia. Lots of day hikes. I've got into backpacking both summer and winter, in rocks, in snow, everything. So I've been in a lot of terrain. Definitely not an expert, but I have probably, over 1,000, maybe 1,500, maybe more kilometers under my belt. So anyway, getting into the socks, really important topic, and that is, how do you avoid getting cold? How do you avoid getting sores, like blisters? And how do you stay dry, comfortable, and have a good experience? So this isn't a silver bullet, but this is a system that's worked for me. And I've watched many other YouTubers, and I've kind of talked to a lot of other hikers out there. And let's talk about the system. So first of all, first thing I put on, absolute first thing, are the toe socks. And what I do is I get a thin toe sock. I don't know, I don't really think it matters too much about the brand, to be honest. These are these Vital Salved, I don't know, that's the brand name. They're fairly thin socks. And these, I have worn them in the winter, but I tend to wear these in the summer, from like late spring till late fall. And that's my first layer of socks. And you'll notice they're high cut. They go above the ankle. So those toe socks, very important. Why toe socks? You'll see in many other videos, one of the things that happens when you go hiking, you get very hot and your toes rub. And the toe socks basically separate your toes and keep them from overheating in between where all the sweat goes. And it's just another layer of protection. We got a very nosy cat here. Anyways, so toe socks. So these are thin ones, and the only difference here is these are, I guess, thicker socks, and these ones are the Injinjini brand that I got from Amazon, I think. But they have them in a lot of these hiking stores. Just a bit thicker, and that's for wintertime, so I get more warmth. Again, all high cut socks, not low cut. Do not get ankle socks for hiking. Do not wear ankle socks for hiking. My daughter made that mistake. I think she actually wore these. And because they don't go high enough, you get a lot of rubbing on your ankles and you will get blisters and it'll be a disaster. So I know you're going to feel a bit hotter, but it's a good idea, especially when you're going on really mountainous, long distance hikes where you build up a lot of heat on your legs, your feet. Then you're going to want to go with that longer cut socks so that all the rubbing that happens between your hiking shoes and your feet, you're going to have a layer of protection. So that's the first layer, is a pair of toe socks of some kind. I'll wear a second pair of socks if I'm going on a big hike. And this is a trick. So the toe socks keep the toes from rubbing, but the second pair of socks, and these are, I'll put links to these different things in the video later. These are like Costco brand hiking socks. I say Costco because it's Kirkland, and that's Costco's brand. So I got these on Amazon. Yeah, they sell them on Amazon. I couldn't find these actually in my local Costco here, but a lot of people use these socks. They're some kind of like a wool/synthetic sock, and they really keep you warm. And it's important to have a sock kind of like this, especially in winter. Between this and this, it'll keep you warm. If you're worried about heat in the summertime, sometimes I'll just wear these and I'll get away with it. Or a thinner long sock on top, a synthetic. Synthetic material is always what you want for hiking. Always, always synthetic. We'll get into that in a bit. So a layer of toe socks, whether it's the thin, the thicker, long cut, and then some kind of a wool / synthetic blend to keep the warmth. Because what happens is this inner sock will rub against this outer sock instead of all that rubbing happening in your boot. And that's just another way of avoiding getting blisters. So that's the first thing I put on. The next thing I put on are some boxer underwear, and again, synthetic materials. And, these are just, there's a whole bunch of these online, but made out of different synthetic materials, as you can see here, very breathable. And I just really prefer that because when you sweat, goes for feet, goes for all of your body. You want something that does not absorb the moisture and hold on to it. Like cotton would be terrible for hiking, stuff like that. You want synthetic materials so that all that sweat can evaporate. So some kind of synthetic boxers. And then if it's cold outside, maybe late in the fall and definitely through the winter, depending on temperatures, I'll put on a base layer. And I don't really think it matters about brand. These are, I think, Under Armour, and they're just kind of like runner base pair tights, right? I'm not a big fan of Smart Wool. I bought this pair of Smart Wool base layer because I didn't know any better when I first got into hiking, but they work. But something like this I'll put on before I put my pants on for extra heat. And again, these are synthetic materials that don't hold on to sweat. They kind of let sweat go through them so that it can evaporate. So that's the next layer that I will wear. And then sort of my base layer for my chest. Doesn't have to be expensive. Some kind of synthetic material shirt as a base layer. Again, I try to avoid Smart Wool because I don't really find it does much for me compared to these synthetic materials that sweat dries really quickly. So these are just kind of cheapo sports shirts that are synthetic material that you might wear when you're playing volleyball or something like that. So that's that base layer so that sweat again can evaporate. And then it's gonna, again, this is depending on temperature. These thicker socks, I may or may not bring them if it's really hot outside in the summer. I probably will either just go with one layer or a thinner second layer for the rubbing. And then I'm gonna pick another chest layer. So this is the base layer. And then I'll either have 1, 2, or 3 layers on my chest. So always this is gonna be there, one of these shirts, and I just showed 2 shirts. Obviously I'm not wearing 2 shirts. I'm wearing some kind of t-shirt like that that's made out of a synthetic material. If it's just sort of a regular hike, it's not too cold outside, sometimes I'll wear this. And it's just like a synthetic kind of like under layer, I guess mid layer again. And this allows the sweat to get through. And if I look kind of underneath, you can kind of see it's something that kind of holds the heat in, but lets the sweat go out, something like this. And if it's colder out, I'll wear this plus this and then one of these. And why I like these is this shirt here does not have a collar. So let's talk about that because that's something important to consider when you're hiking, right? It's just sort of regular neck, no collar, which means no protection on your neck from bugs, things like that, or from the sun. So generally speaking, I like to bring a long sleeve shirt that has a collar, that has a zip. I can unzip it to allow the heat to go out, and I can zip it up if I'm getting colder and I want to have some more protection from the sun or protection from bugs, stuff like that. So something with the collar. This is a thinner layer. This is a thicker material, and this I would wear if it's a bit colder outside. You can kind of see it's less see-through. All synthetics again, some kind of a synthetic blend. And so if it's really cold out, I'll wear a t-shirt, I'll wear this kind of mid layer, and then I'll wear one of these, depending on how cold it is. If it's really cold, this. If it's kind of like not so cold, just mid, I'll wear that. If it's just summertime and it's really hot out, I may wear just this. But I tend to wear a t-shirt always because I'm always up in the mountains, and just because it's a hot day out, when you get up on the mountain, you get lots of wind and it can get pretty cold. So anyways, that's those layers. Let's get into the pants. So again, synthetic pants. These pants, nothing too big about them. Brand names I don't even think matter too much. This one is Outdoor Sports, whatever. I think my wife got these on Amazon. They're a pretty thin pant. I mean, if you look through the light, you can see through the material quite a bit. And I wear these even in the winter time, probably down to -15. With this base layer in these, they seem fine down to -15 Celsius. If it's colder than -15, I will usually, maybe I'll wear both of these base layers that I have and a thicker pair of pants like this. Again, it's synthetic. So this one, you can see through it, but it's definitely more thicker material. So it keeps you more warmer. And I usually like to have these outdoor pants that have like these little rings on them. This has a little ring here, and it just lets me clamp something like an avalanche beacon or something like that. And if I want to throw the beacon in a pocket here, or if I want to throw my cell phone in a pocket or whatever, but I like ones with these rings. Also belts. You'd be surprised how much these pants can sag when you're on a multi-day trip. So I don't know, I don't like these thicker belts like these pants, but those pants came with some really thinner built-in fabric belt like this, so they won't snap or anything like that. So it might be a good idea to have some kind of a belt for these two. You tend to lose weight when you're going on a multi-day hike because a lot of water loss and things like that, and you don't never eat enough calories, right? So it might be a good idea to avoid that pants sag during your multi-day hike. So those are the pants. All right, let's move on. These are all Solomon's. And I've made a video already talking about, the different experience that I've had with these shoes, but I have noticed currently my favorite hiking boots are this right here, and that's the Salomon Quest 4 GTX. Both of these are Salomon Quest 4 GTX. This is a size 12, this is a size 12 and a half. These are the, I think the Ultra something. Yeah, the X Ultra 4 shoes, and they're lighter, but I just want to kind of point this out because I don't think I mentioned this in the other video. The toe is really bendy like this, and after a while you can see it just starts falling apart. And that's really the major problem with these boots. The other thing is the Quest 4 GTX, not the Quest Element. Okay, the Quest Element 4 GTX, that's a newer version of these boots, and that's $50 cheaper. You don't want to go with that if you're doing mountain hiking. You can go with those if you do kind of light hiking and they might last, but there's big differences in the design of the boot. There's these really heavy duty pulls on the ankles, very waterproof boot, and there's a lot more hardware for the shoelaces to connect to, less failure points, and it doesn't bend as easy on the toe, so it's not going to fail as easy as these. Really important to note that. But again, some kind of a high cut boot, this comes down to your own preference. I like waterproof boots, and these Quest 4 GTX are a night and day difference from these Ultras. These are much more waterproof, much more ankle support, much more durability than these lighter shoes. And that's why, for me, especially when doing backpacking with 30 to 50 pounds in my pack, these are the shoes to take. They are great. Yeah, they have their problems. They'll fall apart after a few years, but they do have a 2-year warranty. And I bought this pair. This was warranty on these because this fell apart. I paid the upgrade price, and then this was free because these got holes in them. And I put glue here to try to repair these, and I wear these just in the backyard in the back forest. Anyways, get a good pair of hiking boots. Make sure you get the right size. These are size 12. This is 12 and a half. When I got my warranty boots the second time, I decided to go half a size higher. And because I wear multiple pairs of socks, this was perfect for me. Normally I wear a size 12, and everything 12 and a half for Solomon's for me. Comfortable. All right, let's get into gaiters. So getting brand name hiking boots, to me, that's important. Put your money into good footwear. Try them out in the store, but you want something that's going to last, that's not going to fail you. Another thing, so you notice on these boots right here, these are the shoelaces that came with the boots. This is the iron wire shoelace. I do a lot of snowshoeing in the winter, and well, it's not just the snowshoeing, it's using gaiters. And gaiters, the way these work, if you don't know, you have your boots on, you put them over your boot, and it kind of protects your leg from snow in the winter and debris in the summer from getting down into your boot. But the way these gaiters work is they hook onto the shoelaces down here, right? So there's like a hook, and you hook it onto the shoelace so it holds properly. Well, the shoelaces that come with Solomon's, they just break. After a lot of rubbing, they'll just break. And that's not good when you're on a multi-day. So I switched to the iron wire shoelaces right away, and I never have a problem with these. I've already switched these on my new shoes. Now gaiters, it's not so important what brand you get. This here is Outdoor Research, and I paid like $70 at our local hiking store here in town. But these are Amazon Unigear, and they're exactly the same quality as the Outdoor Research, and they cost like $20 or $30 on Amazon. So get yourself a pair of gaiters. Very important to use gaiters all year. It'll protect you from getting wet. But one thing it will not do is if you're out in the forest hiking and water gets on your pants, you're rubbing against willows, and that water runs down your leg, it's going to get into your foot and get you wet. But they will give you these gaiters, up to here, up to your knees. It'll let this part of your boot stay dry as long as your upper body doesn't get wet. Those gaiters are going to keep you nice and warm and dry. And that's especially true in the wintertime when you're not usually brushing against wet willows and stuff like that. So gaiters are a key piece of equipment to use. All right, let's get into the last bit of gear that I wear. And that is kind of talking about my jacket. All right, so my jacket here and what I put in the jacket. So this is just a cheapo, I don't know, $50 or $60 synthetic material jacket. It's kind of like a fleece, I guess. Has a hood, which is important, and it has pockets on each side. And I bring this jacket, you'll see in all the videos, you might see a green version, but jackets always get damaged by fire. As you can see these holes here, if you're having a fire somewhere, you're gonna get these burn marks. So it's maybe not as important if I don't have a $500 jacket, but if I have a $50 jacket, it's gonna get the abrasion and everything. And what I do is I just tie it around my waist, and when I need to use it, I throw it over my body to stay warm. This usually I use if it's really cold out, maybe colder than -15 in the winter. Otherwise, for me, those layers keep me warm enough. If it gets really windy on a mountaintop, this comes on, the hood comes on. And then let's talk about stuff I have in the pockets. So, wintertime gloves. If it's really cold, I'll have thicker gloves than this. Summertime, sort of dollar store mechanic gloves. I always wear gloves. It protects your hands from mosquitoes. And again, rubbing, I use trekking poles. I'm not going to talk about that in this because it's not something I wear. It's gear that I use. But something I wear is gloves so that I don't get rubbing and devil's club and all that kind of thing. And if I fall on rocks, I'm not going to cut my hands. So I always bring gloves. And of course, a winter hat. Summertime, I always wear these brim style hats. And again, TNT Adventures, Making Hiking Great Again. Got that on Amazon. But I also carry a balaclava. And this is all in case it's really cold and I'm really windy on top of a mountain. I've had to pull out all the gear to stay warm before. And then a buff. And this is just, holes on both sides. I can put hands in here. You can use this in emergency for many things. You can throw it over your head and protect your neck. If you lose your hat because the wind blows it off a cliff, you can put it over your head and use it as a hat. You can soak it in water, put it on your neck and cool off. You can use this for a lot of different things. So a buff. And that pretty much wraps up the base equipment that I use for summer and winter in terms of things that I wear. So if you have any questions, leave those down in the comments and I will try to get you an answer for that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks. Way over.
Can you feel it in the air? The clouds are rolling in. It's a matter of time. Dark skies and howling winds. The sun is come and gone. What stands will surely fall.
There we go.
Chaos is coming.
Boulder, touch it.
Chaos is coming down. It's gonna rain.